You're listening to Be Still and Grow, the GCC Ladies Podcast with Catherine,
Heather,
and Nicole, where we dive into deep theological topics and real-life issues through the art of conversation.
So take a seat at the table with us.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Be Still and Grow podcast. Hello, y'all.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm here. Y'all, I'm gonna get into it because I'm pretty excited. I think she's pretty excited.
The giggle box has turned over.
Yeah, yes. We have a guest, not guests. So we have an emphasis on the "t." We have one guest today. Well, last time we had guests, so I emphasized this. Now we have the "t." Sound it out, children.
Little grammar for you.
Yeah. But we have the one and only, the wonderful Molly Crombie.
Hey.
You seem very excited. She is all smiles.
I'm feeling the red rising.
Oh.
Coming in, settling
It's very
in.
normal.
Mhm.
It's very
Yes.
normal.
Yep.
Yep.
Most people get anxious when they walk in here, and then we start hanging out, and they're like, "Oh wait, that wasn't so bad."
Yeah.
Just
You're
jump right
doing
in.
Great so far. So far, awesome.
Great.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We're super pumped to have you. So, for people who do not know Molly Crombie, who is Molly Crombie?
I'm Molly Crombie. Just to get started there. My husband's name is Andy.
Sorry,
Hi,
I don't know. That came out that way.
His parents were recently in town, and they call him Andrew. So when they leave, I keep calling him Andrew, and then I'm like,
This is not going to
very
work.
silly. I was
So
like, let's
serious.
switch back. Yeah. And people have been like, who's Andrew? I'm like, sorry, Andy. Same person.
Does his parents, do they think it's weird to say Andy?
Yeah, they don't call him Andy.
Okay. So, like, when you say it, they're like, who are you talking about?
No, I mean, they're used to it
Oh, okay.
because, all of his friends call him Andy. But,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I try to switch over for them. I'm also, I try to sign cards that say Andrew, but yeah, so it's always funny when I'm keep referring to him as Andrew, and people are like, "What are you talking about?"
Noted.
He sounds so
Andy and
professional.
Andrew is the same person
Yes,
in this
they are the same
conversation.
person. Yeah. So I'll switch back and forth. But we've been married for almost 8 years,
Oh Doesn't feel
snuck
like
up.
it.
I know.
I was
That's
there.
like close to 10 years. It's weird.
Yeah.
And we have 3 girls. We have Lola and Margie and Evie, and they are 4 and 2.5 and 5 months now. So, it's a lot of fun.
Sounds
That's
busy.
It is. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little busy.
I'm curious, when did he make the transition from Andrew to Andy? Has he always wanted to go by Andy, or he just was like, I'm shedding my past?
So, actually, I feel like I don't know the exact time frame, but I think it was maybe in college or something. In boarding school, everyone called him Crumbs. As in like short for Crombie.
Sure.
I'm surprised I never thought about that. Jeez.
And so, which I do. Apparently, I don't say Crombie correctly.
Oh.
We've been working on it for the last 8 years. I don't know. They say Crombie, and I'm like, yeah, Crombie. And they're like, no, Crombie. I'm like,
You got the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
yeah. So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to be saying it, but his friends called him Crumbs, and he introduced himself to somebody like, I don't know, like, at a restaurant or something. I think it was loud. And he said, I'm Crumbs. And they were like, what? And he said it again. They were like, what? And he was like, Andy. Never mind. So that was kind of it. I think that was in college.
Like, that's the worst. It's like when they can't hear you and you're like, I already hate saying this. Like, let me just keep saying it louder and louder. It's
I
like,
probably
God.
thought he was saying crumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
It's like, are you saying
Are
crumbs?
you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Like,
Do you
who
wanna-
would name their kid that?
Do you
Yeah.
want to go by Crumbs?
Yeah. It's like, are you feeling crummy today?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Exactly.
God, why did these not come to me? Like,
no.
He'll never be Andy again to Catherine.
oh no. Like, what's up, Crumbs? That's the next time I see him.
You probably like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But heck yeah, well that's awesome. Yeah, if y'all people who go to our church, you may get a chance to meet her girls. They're just the sweetest, and so. And then Evie, like who I saw on Sunday, like she's getting so big. Like what is
so big.
happening? This
Yeah.
summer is making kids grow, and I don't like it.
I know.
don't appreciate it. Making the plants grow and the kids grow.
It's called time.
I know.
Goals
I
out.
hate time. It's the worst. But yes, like I said, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're pumped to have you. So I was thinking, kind of going on with what we're talking about today. So I was thinking about something exciting. And it was exciting, but bucket lists. I feel like I don't know if we talked about it before or not, but you're like, no. It's like, I don't want a bucket
I
list.
don't know.
But what I thought what was funny was just like, what is something on your bucket? Because we all have a bucket list. We all have things that we want to do in our lives, whether we're busy or not. But like, what is something that is on your bucket list that it would surprise somebody that you're like, this is kind of something I've always wanted to do? Or if you're like, I don't have anything crazy, it's a pretty generic bucket list. But also in the same vein, like, what is a cool bucket list? Like a part of history. Like, man, if I could be a part of history back in the day, or like a part of that event, that would be something cool to be a part of. If you had time.
Good questions. I've always been envious of Catherine and her bucket list because she's like got one and she's marking them off. And I'm
That's
like,
true. I've
I
marked
need to
them
be
off.
more like Catherine in that way.
Well,
So
what's on your bucket list?
Well, it helps to have great people to knock it off. One of them was a Daytona 500, which I got to go to Daytona. It was one of the greatest times of my life. We went to, which was not planned, but Magnolia, Texas. Joanna Gaines.
Chip and Joanna, Waco.
Joe and Joanna.
That's what I said. Joe and Joanna Gaines.
You forgot your best friend's names?
Big fan. Got to go to Magnolia, the Silos, which was super, super, super fun. I did something else too.
We went horseback riding.
That was one. I feel like I'm missing a big
Disney?
one. Disney. Yeah, there we go. Disney. That was a big one. Wanted to go to Disney. Got to go to in the past couple of years. Yeah, but
Camping?
talking about.
Was camping a bucket list? Y'all just
I do like camping, but it's not a bucket list.
Camping's
'Cause
not on anybody's bucket list.
I think it should be on. It's incredible if you do it right.
Okay.
It is really fun. I enjoy
If
it.
you go with Nicole, it's great.
Oh yeah, she's a phenomenal camper.
Noted.
Absolutely.
Called Camping with Comfort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's really good. It's great. Because we went camping even to the Daytona 500. We went camping to go to that. Oh, my mom's like,
It's
really?
like
You
two
did that?"
things I'm so excited
Yeah.
about.
Both sound
It-
amazing.
It was one of my most favorite trips I've ever been on. I absolutely loved it. But probably for me, even though I'm petrified, I think I've said it before, but I'm petrified of heights. I do not like heights. I've always weirdly wanted to go skydiving. I don't know why.
Okay.
I always say they're gonna have to push me out of the plane.
Mhm.
I feel like I'll pass out before I even go out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've always weirdly wanted to skydive. I don't know why.
I would totally pass out. You know
Yeah.
the ride Batman at Six Flags? I pass out on
I
that
don't do
every
roller
time.
coasters.
Pass
And then I,
out?
yep, I just like
Oh,
black out
no.
over when they takes you over like the trash area, and then I wake up as we're coming back in, and I'm like, let's do that again. And I'm like, what the heck? I don't know. I just like pass
What?
out and I'm back.
So whatever it is
I
about
would
that
for sure
G-force
pass
stops the
Yeah.
blood flow in your brain
Yeah.
just long
Done.
enough for you to pass out. That would be a
Wow.
hard pass for me.
Mm.
As soon as it happened one time, I'd be like, I'm
No.
good.
Yeah.
The rest of the ride, I mean, so it's like halfway through. Like I enjoy the first half, and then I pass out, and then I wake back up, and I'm like, that must have been great.
Yeah. Yeah. So other than that, I don't think anything crazy, but I don't know. It might happen in my life.
Mm.
I rode on a plane. That wasn't really a bucket list. I knew I was going to get on a plane one day. I've only rode on a plane one time in my life, and I knew
Wow.
And it was
I did
great.
it. Yeah,
you
I
did great.
I did, yeah, to the very end. And
I
freaked
didn't
out.
realize how afraid both of you were of flying until that trip. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Oh,
I
you were
gotta
with
be
You're the
like-
calm one here.
I
Nicole.
got to be the responsible party.
That's bad.
Well, like as soon as it was pretty okay. But like I didn't care, but the lift off was a little scary. But then we had a little turbulence coming down, and so Nicole kept saying like, "If you see me freaking out, that's when you should freak out."
Mhm.
And then it was like super jerky, and I'm like, "This is the moment to freak out because I feel like we should be freaking out right now. Why is it shaking like this?" And so, oof,
Yeah.
that was
I'm
crazy.
fine until we hit a storm, and we
that's
came back in weather.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also dark. I don't like flying at night because I'm like, I just feel like I'm in a tunnel thousands of feet in the air and I don't even know the guy driving it. Like, "Ah." And then I'm so stupid, but I have this like, we're going to hit a tree. Like, we're going to hit something. I just, because I can't
Catastrophic
see where I'm
anxiety.
going. But
I can't
so-
see because you're in
Yeah.
charge.
Right. Of course.
You're like, I can't see, so
So therefore
nobody
we're
else
going to
can.
crash.
Well, that's like my fear is being left in the middle of the ocean. Like you've seen like Deadliest Catch, like those big. They're on the ship and like these huge waves and it's a huge storm. That is like, I would bawl my eyes out if I was stuck in something like that. Like I would lose it. That's
So,
so
like,
scary to me.
The question would be, why are you there? What is the scenario
I don't
you
know.
created
Like,
for
I
yourself
don't
that
think
you're
it would
being
ever-
left in the
Yeah.
ocean?
Who knows? Like
Maybe
my
if
life
an
would
airplane
never
crashes into
happen.
the
Yeah. Oh my
ocean.
god. Connection.
That's
That's why
it.
you don't fly over the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't think there will ever be a case scenario, but I've seen videos and it scares the snot out of me. Like, especially at nighttime, you see those waves coming. It's
Just watch Joe versus the volcano. It'll
Joe
help
versus-
glamorize it, and then you'll be okay.
Joe versus
Or take a
volcano.
volleyball with you and you have a friend.
Oh, those make me sad. There's
So
there's
sad.
things on
Those
Instagram.
2 different movies, but they're both Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
just
Oh,
to
really?
say.
Joe Volcano. I never heard Joe
It's
Volcano.
a great movie.
Huh. Is it about a volcano?
Yes.
Was you named Joe?
Yes.
Is the volcano named Joe?
No.
In the middle of the ocean?
Tom Hanks is named Joe.
Is the volcano in the middle of the ocean?
It's on an island in the middle of
Okay.
the ocean.
I'm gonna look that up. Wait, when was this made?
Probably the 80s.
Huh.
It's a
I've
good
heard of
movie.
it,
Maybe
but
not.
I don't
never
know
heard
anything
of
about
it.
it.
Meg
I've
Ryan
heard the
plays
name.
like 10 different characters.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's a
Interesting.
good movie.
Okay.
I'll look that up. But yeah, Instagram does a lot of those Wilson things because usually it's like a big thing right now. It's like women with the Stanley cups and they're like they forget their water cups and they're looking around their car and like, oh no, there's like Wilson because they're like so dry. But those are always make me sad.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like Wilson. It's a ball, but like I get it.
So
man.
sad.
It's sad.
But for y'all,
Bucket list. So yeah,
Right.
not the scariest things in the world.
Yeah.
Bucket list.
I don't know if I could think of any like crazy unexpected things,
Yeah.
but like I want to go to Ireland.
Mhm.
That's like top number 1. And then period of history would probably be, I mean, not that I want to be a part of it, but just observe it would be something to do with ancient Egypt.
Mhm.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say something. This is gonna be wrong. Forgive me, Jesus. It's not what I'm saying. But like a cop out of like, I want to walk with Jesus, which is great. Jesus. That's not what I'm saying. I would love to walk with you.
The Sunday
you
school
walk with us
answer.
every day.
The Sunday school answer.
Yeah.
right?
And so I feel like I was like, well,
I felt like those answers were implied.
Right.
yeah, absolutely.
I almost
Jesus.
said like maybe we should precursor it with like
yeah.
nothing else, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I didn't wanna-
Besides,
besides
doing that,
doing the
obviously,
obvious.
yeah.
I didn't want to be rude to Jesus. And so,
Right.
that's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
and leave
Jesus.
them out. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be so. Egypt. So what?
I don't know. I love Egyptology and like all of the art of like history of all of that kind of stuff. So I think it'd be really interesting to observe something in that way to see how off like our classification of history is.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
I think it'd be fun or funny to like go biblical times to go meet Pharaoh and be like, where did you get off?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, it's like you were
I
trying
just
to
want to
fight
be
God.
like the
Yeah.
observer. I don't want to
Yeah.
be a part of it,
Okay.
but just
I
to
think,
see.
I
like,
think like all of history, I would want to be an observer and not be a part of it. Like,
Yes.
oh no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God knew what he was doing when he gave us air conditioning and electricity.
Oh, yes.
Just
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
Amen.
Like, yeah. I think my bucket list would be to go out west and like let's be like on a dude ranch in like Wyoming or Montana where the mountains are just
Big
like
sky
beautiful.
country.
Yeah, somewhere out there and get to like move the cattle from the north of the
Like City
pasture to
Slickers.
the you know like yeah.
That's
So we'll do
I love
that.
movie. That's a good movie.
What movie?
City Slickers. Slicker.
Oh.
Good night. City Slickers.
never seen that one either.
Never seen that one.
It's
I
got
feel like I've
Billy
watched a lot of
Crystal.
movies, but
So old.
not these.
That's a good movie though.
See, it's
we
the
watched it
old
growing
movies.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never heard Joe Volcano. Not even like
Really?
inkling of Joe Volcano.
Joe versus
Well,
the volcano.
Versus okay.
Oh, I think
Joe
that was
versus
left out
Volcano.
earlier.
Like Tom
Okay.
Hanks. I've never heard him talk about it or
You've
I mean,
never
I'm
heard
very-
Tom Hanks
you
talk
and-
about it?
You and
No,
Tom
Don't
haven't talked
talk
about this?
regularly?
we have not.
What?
I'm very upset, Tom. We're gonna talk about this later. It's like- no, I mean I'm very interested. I'm definitely gonna look it up, but I'm very shocked. Is it funny?
Yes,
It is okay. Okay. I was like, with
It
a
is
name like that, it has to be
not-
funny.
it's a Tom Hanks movie.
Right.
Most of his like early
So what is
90s.
the purpose of it?
Why would I tell you this and ruin it for you?
Oh, okay. Would
I
it,
think
it
you
would
have to
ruin
wait.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, is it like Wilson? Like he's like
No.
volcano.
No, just watch it. It's a good movie. You'll enjoy it.
I'm highly interested in it.
You might learn something.
Yeah, I'm gonna Wikipedia.
It might
that.
apply to some things in your life.
I don't think you should Wikipedia it. I think you should just
Oh,
watch it.
I was gonna say I'm about to look up all kinds of stuff about it. Okay.
Oh.
Control. We need to do another episode on control.
I'm all about Wikipedia. Like I'm watching a movie, I'm like, are they Christian? How tall are they? How many times are they married? Like I would look up all the.
Then you have to rewind the movie.
Because you didn't pay
You didn't pay
attention.
Nah.
Not that bad.
I just I missed it. I probably should
She
go
likes
back.
to make up her own facts. We know this.
Yeah. Catherine's
Catherine's
facts.
No, it's like even when I listen to I listen to the Bible and I'm like, ooh, I need to go back and listen. I missed that. I'm like, I'll do it later, and I never do it later. And I'm like, sorry, Lord.
All
Sorry.
right, forgot.
No, we play
Kicking
footsie
each
so
other.
much in here. Molly,
Bucket list.
any
Bucket list, Molly.
No, I don't have like a set bucket list. Like it sounds like you do. And I love
It just
that.
kind of happens.
Yeah, no, I think it's very cool. I mean, it would probably just be like traveling. Ireland's definitely high up there. My mom and my grandma and my aunt all went to Ireland years ago. And I was at home with the dogs.
Definitely drew the short stick on that one.
Yeah. And then Andy was in England at the same time. And so he just like flew over to meet my mom and hung out with my family in Ireland while I was taking care of the dogs. Not my dogs. Not my mom's
Theirs,
dogs.
so that they could go meet your husband.
Yes. I was
for
like, what
tea.
is happening? But no, Ireland's definitely up there.
That's kind of like I don't know why I had to stop. Sorry, I don't know why I'm saying this out lout. But like, I was like,
Please do.
think about it. I was like, think about it when we do it. But it's like I don't know if it's the same premise. But like, have you seen the movie?
There's
Yeah,
context.
Patrick Swayze. No, not Patrick Swayze. Patrick
Yes.
Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
They go to
Patrick
Ireland.
Dempsey?
Huh?
Maid of Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scotland.
It's got
Not
oh,
Ireland.
yeah. So it's kind of like the same thing. That's also a good
More
movie.
movies.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great movie. I like that movie.
Well, you said Ireland, and I was thinking London in my head, and that's why I was like, "Oh, they're meeting for tea," and then, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
No. Anyway,
yeah, the Ireland. No, daggum a beer. I don't know.
No.
Dang it. No, no, not whiskey. No, what's a Irish drink? No,
Guinness.
Guinness. There we go. I get a Guinness. I don't know. Go ahead.
That was such a good Irish accent.
I
that
think
what that
so.
was?
A little bit. I try.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Toes.
I feel like I have done a lot in my life. I'm very thankful for that. So, so yeah, I don't know.
Anything like time period, like a part of history that you would like to?
I don't know, something with good fashion.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe like the 20s.
yeah, I was thinking.
I thought about the
Yeah.
Roaring '20s too.
Yeah.
But then I was like, Prohibition.
I
Yeah.
know.
Seems like a rough time to be alive.
Yeah, could get kind of.
But again,
hairy.
just to observe, not to
Right.
like engage.
It seems a little
Yeah.
dangerous. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like everything that like had the best fashion was dangerous. So, like, not safe.
Fast fashion.
Would you be in America though, or like would you go like to Paris or something like that during that time?
I think I'd be somewhere, maybe in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
There's
don't know
another
where, though.
movie, Midnight in Paris.
I saw that
sounds
one, but I
familiar.
don't
Good.
remember
It'll
what
describe
happened.
the Paris in the 20s.
That and zero
Yeah.
here.
It's actually really cool. But
I'll have to add to my list, y'all. I'm excited.
Because it was
Great
like a time
Gatsby.
travel thing, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
yeah.
I need to watch
But like it was
Hmm.
really a greater lesson about not being content with where you are
Oh.
or
that's like a
finding
turn.
contentment where you are.
I don't like that.
that. Sounds dull.
Yeah,
Deeper movie
Huh.
meaning, deeper meanings.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know why I apologize for you. She's very sorry for that.
Sorry for bringing it up.
Yeah, I did forget to mention, but even before I knew y'all, like I've always wanted to go to Australia. I feel like I would enjoy Australia quite a bit, and so people are like, "Ooh, yeah, be careful of all the bugs and everything." And
spiders
so,
and snakes.
Never.
I'm out.
I am.
Never.
Yeah, I am
Oh,
scared of
out,
that,
out.
but I always, for some reason, wanted to go there. But I feel like for anything for like history for me, it'd probably be anything musical type thing, like any big musical things that happen in history. I think I would love to be a fly on the wall
Okay.
on those big
Yeah.
things.
Like Woodstock.
No.
What is
Or like
the big thing?
With Johnny and June.
Johnny. Oh, that's a good one. I think I would like to see Johnny's downfall. No, I was kidding. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Another movie, Walk the Line.
That is a great movie.
I
love
actually
that
could
movie.
contribute to the movie thing.
Yeah, that's a good.
Don't
movie.
expect it again.
I'm just kidding. We can get that part out of the podcast. I say that every time. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I love watching musical documentaries, and so like even like when the Beatles, when they made their stuff, or I watched the Beach Boys one recently. And I was shocked. I learned a lot about the Beach Boys,
Not
and
so
I was
much on
like,
that one.
Oh.
it's not what I thought about you guys at all.
I'm out.
Took a big turn. It was great. I mean, like not a bad turn, but it was just like it's not what I thought. It was an okay documentary. I do not recommend. It's okay. It was okay. Watched a lot. It was like almost 2 hours. Yeah, it was all right.
Wasted time.
Yeah, I would not watch it again or recommend it. I don't know. Anything big in history from music? I know there's stuff I'm missing. It's not coming to my mind. But like big things, big songs were created, or I don't know, just to listen to the first thoughts or the first, I don't know. Like even like with the Beatles, like when they first played in their house and like I don't know, things like that would be really
In
cool.
the cave.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got. I feel like you're not enthusiastic what I said at all. It's fine.
That sounds great, Catherine.
Yeah.
I
I'm
fully
just
support your
thinking about
desires.
it.
I think it's
Music. I mean, it's a
Love
big part
music.
of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or walking with Jesus.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was like, don't get excited about that.
Also a great song.
Yeah, it is. It's true. Let's move on. Sorry. It's fine. Nicole, why are we here if we have time?
We're here because we are all busy ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is the season in my life where I need to not be so busy. So I'm really grateful for this conversation. I know it's super timely for all of us. How do we avoid burnout? How do we say no? How do we make time for Jesus in our busy lives? And I don't have all the answers, so let's go.
I do not like how she put the no part in there. I was like,
No, you
yeah.
snuck that one in.
Yeah,
It's not on my list.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything about saying no.
Yeah, we should always say yes to everything. And so
Catherine's fact.
take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, that's something I'm still learning. I feel like I've gotten better, but
Okay.
I feel like I've gotten better. I just usually just like bye.
Okay.
It's like, I
Like-
just don't say anything.
Just gonna ignore that text.
So it's the no in silence.
Yeah.
Yes, I just figure out. I'm like, oh man, something came up. That's so weird. I don't know what the heck.
To wash
So,
my hair.
Yeah.
Just stop or to stop responding.
Yeah. It's like, no, I respond, but usually takes me a while. Like I just wait a couple of days and see what happens. I just
Like,
don't do that.
I missed it. No.
Yeah.
no.
Oh no.
So sad.
You're giving
Send
away all your
pictures.
tricks
Bye.
now.
Yeah,
People
I
can,
don't do that, people. People do think I do that. I don't do that.
Mm.
I don't. I really don't. I really
There's
don't.
video evidence
It's
of
I
that eye roll.
I was just being silly. But like there are times that I,
Better
by
cross those
accident,
fingers.
do sometimes that I'm like, let's just wait it out for a second to see what happens.
I feel like that's the motto of your life. Let's just wait it out.
Let's see how this pans out. Innocent bystander over here.
First question. It's like, dang,
So Molly.
like, dagger. Yeah. That is a good motto. I say that quite a bit. That's what I usually say. What I think a lot of ladies hate when I say this, but I usually say it's like, just walk it off. Let's just see what happens. And so, like, yes, that's going great for you. I'm like, but we got to keep giving it time. We never know. This is a lot about me. Let's go to move on, guys. I feel like this is turning real quick. Busyness. How in our busy lives, like she said, we are very busy, and I could not agree more. We're even through different phases of life, we are all dynamically busy, and I even thought about recently. Where Pastor Kirk talked, he talked about it a few times in his sermons where he talked about, we almost like use it as a badge of honor. Like when people ask us like, hey, how you doing? We're like, hey man, just busy. I'm busy. It's like, that's just our natural tendency just to say, hey, we're busy. And so, I don't, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we, are always busy. But I mean, I think generally in all of our lives, we're always going to be busy with something. I think that's a regular rhythm that we're always going to be a part of. But how we're doing that well, I think that's kind of the key here. And so, but for us as Christians, how do we, in our busy lives, how do we make time for God? And I asked this because we actually talked a little bit about this a few podcasts ago. Where we talked about, once again, Pastor Kirk also talked about it in his sermon. When we're being busy, like in our minds, like we're so busy, I don't have time for the Lord. Like, oh man, well maybe you can carve out like an hour in the morning. I could do that. Then like it becomes a thing, and then like, oh, I missed it. Then it's like that's not a really good rhythm to kind of bring God in. And so one of the things he had suggested was like in your everyday, like bring him in with you. Like even when he talked about his truck, like, that is like a mobile podcast area. Like I'm listening to things so, and I am trying to implement that, especially in my work of like, okay, let's listen to worship. Let's do this. Like, let's bring him in throughout our day instead of like, okay, well, no, I gotta carve out time during lunch, at work. I'll read the Bible real quick, or I'll read a verse, like, or how about you just bring him throughout your entire day? Like, when you're thinking about something you're going through, like ask the Lord about it. Like, what are, God, what are your thoughts? Like, help lead me in this. I'm dealing with this today. I need your guidance in this. And like, he will meet us there. And so yeah, basically in our times and seasons of busyness, how in the world do we make time for God?
Well,
Your
it sounds
first
like
thoughts?
you kind of answered it. So
Yeah, I
I
was
think
like-
we should wrap this up.
I'm looking for different answers.
Yeah, those specific things like that Kirk has talked about, like I do, I hear him in the back of my head. Like if somebody asks me how I'm doing, it's like, don't say busy, don't say busy.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah.
But yeah, I've like, for me, a big thing that's worked is, if I am alone, which is not often, but there's a child trailing around somewhere, but in the car or like during nap time, I'm usually like cleaning or cooking or something. Like if I'm alone, then if you guys aren't in my head, then I am lost, basically. So I didn't. Do y'all know that we're all best friends? We talk all the time. But I have text Catherine a few times, like late at night. And I'm like, these are the answers to the questions on your podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so that is definitely like Kirk talked about, like just sliding it into like making it fit into the day, because right now, I just like schedules are always changing and stuff. And, like it works to like get up early in the morning and, while I'm feeding the baby and like, doing a Bible study. But then, the baby wakes up early or somebody else wakes, like things just get thrown at me. And like you say, it just doesn't work. It's just not a regular routine. And, still trying, still putting in that effort. And really the biggest slap in the face was, the getting up early works. It helps the day go better.
Don't say that.
I know.
But I agree.
And I told Mom, I was like, this is the worst. I was like, but I woke up at 6:30 and my day went really well. But so, I still put in those efforts to have those intentional quiet moments. But I mean, even then, I'm sitting there and it's like just taking 10 minutes and my brain's like, okay, but I did need to order this and I forgot to look at that. And what did that mean when he said this? And like, I should double check what somebody, and I start going through all these trails. So, my constant prayer is just, I'm like, Lord, help me focus, because my brain is in 1,000 different places. But yeah.
How do you feel like because on our last podcast, we were talking about shepherding a child. And we talked about like being the front lines of like you spreading the gospel, like they get to see that through you, which is really, really cool. And so like, how have you seen like through like non-children, non-married life to like now married, having children, like how has that changed? Like, of course the business has definitely skyrocketed, but like, of course, it's a dumb question, but like, has it got harder spending time with the Lord? But how have you seen the changes of that and kind of like the sweetness you've kind of found with now everybody there?
I mean, I feel more desperate for it. I think is a big word. Like, I've definitely have seen how like in my past life, I was just much more casual about my time with the Lord, because I thought, well, I'll have time later, and now that I don't see time later, I do feel more desperate and trying to figure out, when to get that. And, it has been sweeter in just, like Lola, she's 4 and stuff. And she, for preschool, goes to the Baptist church up the road, and they do a wonderful job, just instilling the love of Christ in her. And, just seeing her, hearing her sing worship songs all the time, right? And ones that I've never heard sometimes. I'm like, what is that song? And look it up, and it turns out it's a real song, like, did you just make that up? But, and so then it feels even more important to show the girls, what that looks like to slow down and prioritize, time with Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get to kind of do that together. Like, we're going to seek the Lord together and we're all going to stop and pray before this meal and, make these kind of things. I was thinking too, like busyness, when you were saying it's something we're always going to face. I also feel like busyness is also a good thing.
Yeah.
It's biblical. Like we're called to work, we're called to serve, we're called to be in each other's lives, we're called to love each other. And that's not like a 9 to 5 and then rest. I feel like it, as humans and in our culture, like we're like, oh, we're too busy. Like, oh, we have to have like a day of full on rest or every night, or, we can only give up one night a week, where it's just like rest is the ultimate goal. And I don't know. I think we can lean, the pendulum can sway like way too heavy, So I think busyness is good, but doing it all with the Lord and abiding as you serve and love and give, and seeing that everything that we're doing, the jobs, the sports with the kids, the serving your church, or, whatever's going on and keeping you so busy, God has you in all of those places to love his people, to reach the lost, to how can I bring the world into my life with God, instead of, it's when our vision and our focus and our whole purpose is serving and loving the Lord and getting to know him more, then that changes what we're doing. It's because when you're like worldly busy and you're just leaving the Lord out of it, you get exhausted. But then when it's like, oh, I'm going to go and love and serve these people, like the joy that you have in getting to do that and love them well, it doesn't drain you as much, So doing everything with the purpose of loving Jesus through it all, from the diapers to work to cooking to cleaning your house to serving your church, it's all for the joy and glory of the Lord. And so doing it with that purpose definitely helps me as I'm doing that dreaded laundry.
I think that busyness can be good when you have the right foundation and the right focus on that. Because if you don't start with your relationship with God, your relationship with Christ, you don't have the energy or the capacity to take that on. And so we all go through seasons where that is really strong and really weak, and, seasons of rest are needed. But like, be flexible with yourself and stop trying to check the box and strive for perfection. Because that's where I fail. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up early, I'm going to do it. I failed. Therefore, let's not try that again. Not good at that. Let's not do it. But rather than the perspective of it's all or nothing, like it's okay to build it in where you can. Like, but if it's not the focus and foundation of what you're building on, period, you're not going to last. You're going to burn out. You're going to be exhausted. But I think it's the intentionality, but without the guilt that we put on ourselves for not being great at it.
Yeah. Like don't let perfection get in the way of progress. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, just going off of what you said, like, how do we, especially in a very chaotic world and busy world, like, how do we stay emotionally, spiritually healthy? And also, at the same vein as that, how do we prevent burnout? How do we prevent stress and all that throughout life? Because I feel like, especially, like I've learned in my life that, like, I love busyness. I love being, like, that helps me, in all the wrong ways, but I'm learning. But I like being very busy because it's distracting to me. It's really, really great. But at the same time, it's like, it's super overwhelming. I get stressed out. And then it's just like, I know I need a rest, but then, I don't want to rest. And so it's like, that's another topic. But it's hard because it's like, especially when work or things are getting busier and busier and it's just piling on, the weight gets heavier. And so it's like, and I'm a white knuckler. I push through. And I'm like, we got to get it done, and keep going. Doesn't matter if I'm burnt out. Doesn't matter if I'm stressed or any of those things. Just keep pushing. And so, but I definitely don't think the Lord calls us to do that. And so in that, how in the world do we prevent, like I said, the burnout, the stress, and how do we stay emotionally and spiritually healthy?
Yeah. How do we do that?
Yeah.
Great question. Somebody here has the answer to that, right?
Right? Yeah, totally.
We don't have to answer it. I'm okay with it. I'll just keep going my same way. just kidding.
False.
Well, I think, like Heather was saying before, just like, and Nicole, like having that good foundation, and for why you're busy, motivation and stuff, just because if you're worldly busy, like you said, it's exhausting, but, the Lord can fill you back up when you're working for his glory. And, so, I mean, I imagine that would work, but I can't guarantee, not necessarily speaking from experience, but yeah, I can definitely see.
Yeah. I think too, I mean, just like you said, I mean, things we've been talking about in the beginning, like once again, it's good to set time for the Lord, but like being intentional with the Lord and just realizing that in this journey, like, I think it becomes, you might have said it, but like, I think it becomes overwhelming and stressful, and all the things come like when we try to do everything on our own. Like when we start running the race by ourselves, like, yeah, it's super overwhelming. And so that's one of the things that we preach about community outside, even with the Lord. Like God puts people in our lives and community to help us through life struggles and the hard seasons. But the same vein, like God wants to walk with you through this. Like as he talks about, take my yoke upon you. Like, he wants to make our burdens light. He wants to make them easy for us. But in our minds, I think as humans, we're like, oh no, we can do this. We can juggle all these plates. We can do all the different things. And Lord's like, if you want to go and crash all the plates, go crash them all. But you could have just handed them to me, Yeah. And so I think making that intentional, walking with the Lord every single day, putting him first, on everything, I mean, I remember, like I said, life gets busy, but I remember, I've said this many times, not on the podcast, but like as a kid, like I used to talk to God all the time. Not to say I don't talk to God now, but like, even like basic thoughts or anything, like I would just ask God about this or talk to God about this. Like he was just constantly in my mind. But like when you're a kid, there's not a whole lot going on in your mind. And so it's kind of easier to put them in there. But as an adult, it's like, it gets harder because like you're saying, like when you're reading something or going through something, well, like, oh, I gotta order this. I gotta go do this. Oh man, I gotta get the kids to this or that. It's like your mind starts trickling and you gotta, so our focus, as Pastor Kirk just recently said, like even with videos, like, that 15 seconds, like, we just want to keep swiping and swiping because we want that quick gratification. And it's like a part of any relationship or anything, like it's a process and it takes time. And so, but finding ways to put God in your life, I think is going to be helpful. And so, and then also be open with the Lord. Say, hey, Lord, I'm overwhelmed. Like help me to figure out how to say no, or like, what am I doing too much of? Or like how clearly maybe I'm doing this wrong or I'm doing it without you. How can you come alongside me on that? And so I think being real with yourself and talking to God and saying, God, okay, I don't feel like I am being emotionally or spiritually healthy in this season or in this chaotic time of my life. How do I switch that? What do we do? I think we'd say that a lot on the podcast. Like, I think number one, talk to God about it, and recognizing, yeah, maybe I'm not as healthy in this season, in this busy season as I thought I was, and so I think just taking a step back instead of just plowing through and just, okay, let's assess here,
I would also say when we realize that our sole purpose in this life is to bring God glory, we were made in his image, we're breathing his air, we're eating his food, we're hanging out with his children. Everything is designed to turn us back to him and to bring glory and honor to him. What in our lives is pulling us away from that? Being a parent is designed to bring God glory and to show the relationship between a father and our father and his children, us. Every single thing is designed to bring him glory. And so what about my life today, Lord, is going to bring you, how are we going to bring you glory in all of these things? And taking that step back and saying, what in my life is distracting me, is just pulling me away from him? Is spending time with these friends who don't know and love him distracting me from him? Am I actually sharing the gospel? It's like, oh, well, I'm going to keep hanging out with them because they need a Christian. And they're like, well, are you sharing the gospel with them? Are you truly, or are they pulling you down and you need to take a step back? Or is is your kid being the best one on the team the actual goal here? Or are you loving the people who are going and inviting them to church and loving them and serving them and showing them what it looks like to live a life for the Lord? Are you actually doing that? Or is it for your kid's glory or your glory or fill in the blank? You know, what's the purpose behind all this stuff? Because that's what's the draining part. And so living life but to give God glory in the way that it was designed, everything else is just going to drain you.
Yeah.
I think I pray the Lord give me the grace to unpack this thought, but I'm going to say humility. Because I think we say yes to a lot of things because we're prideful, because it's the being seen doing it or the feeling of accomplishment and success, whatever it might be, you know, making your kids happy by saying yes to all the activities, or the root desire of serving at church is because you want to be the one at the door because, you know, you want people to see you or you get gratification from that or whatever it might be. But I think that the things that the Lord has handed us to do consume our schedules and they make us busy. But He will equip us with the ability to walk them out if we are humble and we acknowledge that it's for His glory and not for our own. Because whatever season we're in, the Lord has ordained it. Like all the things that we're responsible for, the things that we're signed up to do, or whatever it might be, He knows them all. And I think it's time that we pray for wisdom to know what are the things for now, what are the things for later, what are the things maybe not that I'll say no to and not continue to do, but to stay humble in that, because life is not about us. We're not the main character. We're not the main player. We're not the lead role of this story. Jesus is. And like everything about our life, everything hard, everything good, everything easy, everything yet to come is all to point us more to Him. And so I think my perspective has always been busyness bad. I'm doing too much, overcommitted. I'm like people pleaser. I say yes to everyone. But I think I can connect that to my pride now and say that I don't want to be the one that can't do it. I want to be known that I'm strong enough, that I'm able enough, that I'm whatever the skill or whatever might be, rather than saying, Lord, how can I bring you glory in this? And I think that mind shift there would be instrumental in our lives and the amount of busyness that we have, because if God has given us the task to do, He will equip us with the grace to do it.
Yeah, that was literally my next question was going to be is like, how do we know in our busyness, like, is it for God or is it for ourselves? And I think that is a great guideline to figure out. Are we bringing God glory or is just, am I doing it for myself? And so, yeah, I think, I feel like she stepped on so many toes. So I'm like, ugh. But like, I think you're right. I mean, the humility is just kind of like taking a step back and like, okay, am I doing it for myself? Do I really want this gratification? Am I being prideful? Or no, I want all this stuff that I have to do every day. Like I want it to somehow bring God glory. And so, and I think even people who think like, well, I don't really do a whole lot. Like, how can this bring God glory? Like everything that you're doing, like there's so many things that you do it day in and day out that can easily bring God glory. And so, I think shifting that focus and realizing that it's for God and not for yourself. And so,
and at the same time, not imposing guilt on yourself because you don't have the energy to do it, or you don't physically have time to get something done. But it's like, it's for God's glory. I'm the worst person on earth. Like, don't do that either.
Yeah.
Like, that's for praying for wisdom and knowing what you can handle and what really is for this season and this time, I think is important.
Yeah.
I'm walking through that right now, and it's really hard.
So annoying.
I when I was stopped working to stay at home and be a mom, somebody, when I told them that I was not going to be working anymore, she was like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I guess you'll be like helping out with your church a lot more then too, right? And I was like, yes, yes, definitely. And I mean, and she didn't mean anything by it, but that's what was working for her. And, but it's like, has played in my head so much, since having kids. I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Like, I'm not, I should be, just giving my time, more of my time, just doing like different things. And yeah, it is like, like, I can definitely see that pride, but it's like more that, like, you know, guilt of like not, like, other people are doing it, so I should be able to do these things. I should be able to, you know, help in these ways. And, you know, I'm not glorifying God with what I'm doing, so I should, you know, be at the church every day, you know, with, you know, kids in tow and working for the Lord. And, you know, that, you know, the work I'm doing at home is for the Lord, and you know, changing that, again, that motivation and focus.
Well, I think it's false perspective. I mean, especially in today's world. I mean, I think we always say it's a lot like the American dream or all these things. It's like, you need to be doing these things and this is what this looks like and all that. But I don't believe that at all, because to me, we just literally talked about it in the last podcast. It's like, you're the front lines for your children. Like, what an amazing gift that they get to hear the gospel first from you. Like, that's an amazing thing that God did. But not only that, but the influence that, like, the activities that you're busy with. So, like, if they're, like they were saying, sports or school or anything like that, like, you get to go share the gospel there. And so, like, yes, not saying it's not bad to serve for the church or anything like that, but we're called to go out into the world.
Right.
You're doing that as disciples. Like, you're doing exactly what the word says to do. And so I think that's what, like, once again, as we talk about busyness and we talk about the world, like, I think that's what the world preaches at us, that, you know, you need to be missionaries and you got to go to all these places. Once again, I'm not knocking those things, but I feel like we get that false perspective, and then we feel guilty or ashamed that, I'm not doing all those things, so I'm not a good Christian because I'm not, you know, X, Y, and Z for the church. But God calls us all to different areas and different things in our lives, and He's equipped us for those certain things. And I think that's something that we need to rest in, not the guilt of, dadgummit, I should be coming to the church every day. I should be doing this or doing that. Not to say those things are wrong. Just saying,
Right.
Yeah, it's like, those are good things. But
Yeah.
Being wise and knowing if there's a need that you can fill,
correct.
you, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a conviction for that, like, the kids ministry needs volunteers and you are available at least one Sunday a month to serve, like, you can say yes to that. God will equip you and train you to be able to do that. But if you do 10 different ministries in the church and then you're like, oh no, they need help too. Like, okay, I think I could figure this out. And if I rearrange if it becomes a burden, like, maybe that opportunity to serve is not for you.
Yeah. Because then at that point, you're not doing anything well.
Right.
I think another factor to be sure to bring into the conversation is contentment. A lot of our busyness is because we have to have more. Well, we got to be more. Well, we got to do more. I've got to make more money. I've got to serve more. I've got to fill in the blank. But we are in these seasons of life. All four of us are in a different season of life right now. And we're all exactly where the Lord wants us to be. And you know, when I had super small children, I did a lot less because there's schedules and sometimes the kids would rather be in their playroom, and that's how we love them well, you know, like, do these things. And there's a season for everything. And so being content, not trying, like, okay, you're working 60 hours at your job when the boss says, hey, it's Friday at 5 o'clock, like, clock out, go home. Well, I just need more. You don't need more money. You really don't. You don't need more, you know, like, you don't need another title behind your name. Like, what are you doing to be where the Lord has you for His glory in the moment? And I think contentment is something nobody wants to say it because nobody wants to accept it. It's like, we have to do more. No, you need to say, I need to be content in where the Lord has me. He has designed this day for me. He's laid out the good works for me to do. I'm going to go do them my very best, and I'm going to come home and I'm going to sleep tonight. We're going to get up and do it again. And that's what we're called to do. This is where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's a breeding ground for whether it's bitterness or you're not satisfied and where the Lord has you, and that's not a great place to be. So I'm curious, how do we know we're just daggum too busy, guys? How do y'all know?
Where's that line?
I don't think there is a line. I think you just add to it, guys. And keep going to see how far you can go.
I think that it's somewhat of a personal question and perspective to be able to know what the tells are. But I think universal tells are, you're not doing what you're doing well. Is probably a big indicator. Yeah. If you can't give 100% to each task, then you might have too many tasks.
Can we cut the part out? Because I don't want to hear that again.
I know. I'm like,
I give 100% to all my jobs.
That was kind of like my motivation because, with the job I was working, they were very willing to, work with me and do part-time or something, so I could keep working. And I was just kind of, I didn't feel like I was doing a good job at that point at the job anyway. I said job a lot. But I was like, I just want to like give one thing my all for like just a minute,
Yeah.
and I felt spread very thin there anyway. So yeah, like you said, like, just if you aren't giving anything your all, then you're too busy.
I'm curious too, like what, because we always play like that, the advocate for that person, but a person that says, well, I feel like I'm doing a good job. Like, should there be any like red flags that they should? Don't stop it. I'm not asking this question. As a person, we'll call her
Jill.
Janelle. Do what? Would you say?
Said Schmathrin.
I'm not asking for me. I'm not asking for me.
Well, I think
But-
a big part of this, sorry. to
No, go
interrupt
for
you,
it, go
But,
for it.
is, surrounding yourself with, other believers and like good friends that can see, when you're faltering and like when it's not working, and trusting in those, those people around you. And, because that's, with the community, I think that's a big part of it, is telling each other the hard stuff. And then the other part of that is listening to the hard stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think, I feel like that's like, because like, if you're in it and you're too busy, like, I don't think you're ever going to see it, like, I mean, maybe you would, but it's probably going to be something bad, that opens your eyes to it. So, but so I would just hope that like somebody else could come in and say, hey, it seems like you're too busy.
Yeah.
How can we step back?
Yeah. And what does Scripture say? What does Scripture say our Christian lives should look like?
Yeah.
First scripture that comes to mind is Hebrews 10, I think, about not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some. So are you too busy to attend your community group? Are you too busy to grab dinner with a friend who's going through a hard time? Are you too busy to attend church on Sunday mornings? What does that look like? Do you have time? I don't know. What are some other scriptures that, abide and meditate on his word? And Catherine's like, I still don't want this to be a truth. I don't want this to be true.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. How many things are you thinking about?
Yeah.
How many directions are you running? These are all questions that I'm like, this is why I need this conversation.
Yeah.
To make
We can
ourselves
stop the
stop.
conversation at any point.
The resolution.
Be like, oops, delete. Oh my gosh.
No, but I agree with you, Molly. Like, it's about having inward perspective and self-awareness. I'm an advocate for self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We know this.
You're
But
so
if you
good at it.
don't have self-awareness, you should get some. But also have good friends and people in your life that you trust, that as your arms are tired and they hold up your arms, can be like, hey, bud, I think it might be time to talk about these things. And to listen and to prayerfully take their advice. Definitely don't just listen to every person who gives you counsel. But wisdom can be found in a multitude of counsel. So don't forsake that either.
I'll forsake it. So I think the $1 million question, in our seasons of busyness, how do we find rest? This is something I still in my long life journey to figure out. It's like, I always say that. Like, I've said this probably the majority of my life, that I'm a terrible rester. I've always been a terrible rester. But even just recently, I've been starting to learn of like, I don't think I've ever learned how to rest. And I say that a lot. And so people's like, oh, you should. I'm not it's like I feel like I'm backtracking on a lot of people's things, but like I'm not downing on anybody on this, but like you should start crocheting, or you should I get that a lot. Yeah. You should make sourdough bread, and I'm like, this is nothing. Those are great things, guys. I can't do those things. It's like I can barely draw. So
You could bake. You made a French silk pie.
I do like baking, but it makes me nervous because I'm like, I'm gonna ruin it, and so I always make doubles the whole thing. But Molly's a great baker.
Double?
I do make 2 things because I did not do the French tilt because I was so stressed out. I was like, I can't do this again. But I make double because I always feel like I'm going to make it wrong the first time. And because usually like I make things that I've never made before. And so like, I don't know how it tastes. I did not know how a French tilt pie
I don't know
tasted.
how that tastes either. And if you could bake me one, that would be
I
great.
would.
I know. I'm like,
Joanna
I've never had
Gaines,
this either.
her recipe.
Oh, really?
Top
Yeah.
notch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But I always make double because I'm always afraid it's going to be wrong the first time. And so the second time, at least I know it's good second time. And so this is my stressful life. but yeah, so I was like, what was I saying all that? But
How do we find rest?
Yeah. But I get, people always say those things a lot. You should do those things. Once again, those are great things. If you find rest in that, do those things. But I feel like I'm starting to learn in my life of like, I don't think I've ever learned how to rest. Like I've always done things my entire life. Like I've always done things for other people or do this or do that. Like I've never took time to figure out what's restful for Catherine. What does Catherine like? Like I've never took those time to do those things. Do I want to take time to do those things? Not even a little bit. But I know they're good and Lord talks about it. But like, and I always tell people, because people always hear those things like, well, so-and-so's doing this. So maybe I should do that. Go for it. Yeah, sure. If it works for you, works for you. But I've said this 1,000 times to people. Find what works for you. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's automatically going to work for you. Like find that thing that is restful for you or works for you, that is good for you, and then go with that. Like, yes, try those things as for everybody else, but like figure what works for yourself. And so I am in that weird season of trying to figure out what does that look like for me. Still on that journey. But I mean, I have little things that, I do enjoy, but it's hard. And, because like when we're busy, we're like, there is no time to rest. We got to be doing this. We can't, like a person who's moms or whatever, like, or like you're married, like I can't rest. I got to feed them. Like I got to do this. I got to do that. So like, I can't rest right now. Like I have to do that first. That's my priority. And so, which unfortunately eventually will lead to all the stress and the burnout and things like that. But like, I feel like it's hard in the busier seasons. And so, even a person for like me, even in the non-busier seasons, it's hard for me because I feel it's the same. I feel the guilt and everything that I should not be resting. Dang it. I should have. It came up to me right. I should have. Dadgummit. Sorry. I'm all over the place. What? But no, you had sent it to me. Well, remember you? Oh God, it's perfect. Boy. It was a meme, and it was like, oh, I should have.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Do you remember exactly, or
no.
I can go for it. I might butcher it, but it was basically like, yes, I should rest, but how can I do it more productively? It's like something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so I am that person. Like I feel so much guilt resting. Like if I rest, it's like I should be doing something way more important. Like I don't see the value in me taking rest, even though there's so much good in that and the Lord calls us to that. But to me, like there's zero value in that. Like I should be sacrificing, doing all these things for other people. That's way more important. And so
Nicole's like, are we opening this can of worms?
It's like, are we gonna go there? Is it time?
We're ready.
We're helping
ready.
other people.
I have an answer. You're not gonna like it.
Nah, I never like our answers. But like once again, like I said, we always try to do I always try to speak for that advocate of the other person. Like how do we find rest in those seasons, and like whether it's in our busy seasons or non-busy seasons, and how do we take value in that? So everybody except Nicole. Go.
Okay, so the answer you're not gonna like is if you struggle to find rest and you are a Christian who serves in your church, sit in service on a Sunday and just receive. I also there are many of us on church staff serving in ministries who are that busy that we don't get the opportunity to just sit in a service and receive without being responsible for something simultaneously at the same time. I have not sat in a service and received for like over 2 years. And that's just a reality. It's a sacrifice for serving. But also, if you are struggling to find rest, go home, go to your home. Like your home is in the Lord. Like what a better place to practice being quiet, to express your worship and your thankfulness and your gratitude, to exercise those muscles, to communicate with the Lord during worship, to also be convicted by the Spirit, to be led to repentance, to have that whole experience where your focus is solely on the Lord and let Him refresh you. Like, that is a great place to start. My natural reaction is, I'm really busy. I'm going to go home and start a whole new project. It might not be the wisest thing to do, but I find lots of rest in building things. But I think that for many of us in these seasons of busyness, the wisest thing we can do is take a moment, and that is the ultimate self-care that you can give yourself.
I've got two thoughts. My first thought is every single day without fail, we have to spend time alone with God in his word and in prayer every single day. And I'm personally struggling with that right now. It's summertime, so my kids are not requiring that I'm out of bed at 6:30 in the morning. And it's my usual thing is 6:30, we're up, we're making lunches, we're getting ready and get the kids out the door. 7:15, we leave. I come back and I have an hour and 45 minutes before anyone would expect me, quote, quote, to work, like be at my computer, like ready to knock out the tasks of the day. And that's for me, that's my time. But now it's like, oh, the kids don't have to be up. They're sleeping in. I'll sleep till 7:30. I'll do this. Da, 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 da. And like, oh, let me just look at my email. So it just has to be that we have to spend time. And I look at some of the scriptures and, give the first fruits to the Lord, like the first fruits of my day, the first few moments. Like, I feel like that is the most beneficial, where the rest of the day I can meditate on his words. Do I do that every day? And am I walking in that? I am saying, like, it's a struggle for me right now. And so as we said, this is a very timely conversation. So we're not going to do it perfectly every day for the rest of our life, but we have to be willing to start there. Would you imagine that Jesus spent an entire day that he did not pray? Like, he's the one that lived out the example. And so anyway, we have to do that. We've got to be in his word and we've got to be in prayer. That is where our strength will come from for the rest of the day. And that's how we get our rest. My second thought is there is physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest, all these different kind of things, where sometimes you need a nap. Mm-hmm. It is okay sometimes for you to nap while that baby is napping. Hear me. Like, sometimes we are just physically tired, and that affects our emotional energy, and that affects our spiritual energy and all the things. So, like, take a moment and realize, is it really physical rest? No, I feel fine. Or is it, I need like emotional rest. I need to cry and let these emotions out. I need to have time with a friend. Another thought is, if you're running from rest, there's something you need to address as to why. There's a reason. There's something that you're like, I don't want to hear that from the Lord today. I'm going to run from that. And I would put money down, if that weren't a sin, to bet money on it, that your burdens will be lifted. The joy will come back to you, and the rest will be found when you face them, hand them over to the Lord, and keep moving.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
I'm a very selfish rester. I'm actually good at resting.
Rest is my favorite.
If y'all wanted to rest, just hang out with me. I have come to admit I am obsessed with TV. It's very important to me to watch TV at least once a day.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good things on.
There are a lot of good things on. And a lot of days I don't get to watch TV, and I'm very cranky. Because our kind of rule is that we don't watch TV past 10 o'clock at night, because we have to go to sleep.
So annoying.
Responsibility.
Super annoying.
It's not restful.
No, it's not. But yeah, so I have a dear friend, Rebecca Spelza. And call her out. But she made the comment once about that she was, reminding herself that being with the Lord is resting. And I was like, oh no. Because I'm like, well, I just need to zone out, I need some time to myself. And it's like, no, I just need time with the Lord. Yeah. So that was a big, shot to the heart when I, woke up and was nursing the baby, and it was quiet and a great time to watch a show. And I hered those words and I was like, no, this is the time to rest in the Lord. And it, it doesn't always work. Mostly because my brain just flutters away. But yeah, that like it's daily struggle, man.
I think like we were just saying, like the mind shift. Like I cannot agree. Like typically, like because Instagram and like, videos can be like to me, like my mind probably shuts off the most when I just like I get in the thing of just watching the things. Like I don't know, like I could kill an hour real quick, and like my mind didn't think a thought the whole time. I'm just watching, but it's like shifting. It's like we could use that time to like. Okay, well, you had that hour. You could use it for the Lord, and so. But it is crazy that, like, just my thought right now. But like, how our minds can shut off during that, but sometimes our mind doesn't shut off when we're reading the Word. Like, isn't that crazy?
Why is that? That's weird. I know what you
Got an
mean.
answer for that, Nicole? I'm just kidding.
Sin.
God dang.
Our
Sin
flesh.
nature. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm guilty too.
Sorry. No, but it. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's just like just stepped on my toes, but it is. We talk about that a lot. Of just like it's crazy, like how our human and sin nature just jump in. It's like we should be doing these things. We should know these things, but yet our flesh just immediately jumps in there. And so, but I think we should try to figure out that same method of like, okay, well, our mind can shut off. We figured it out, but like let's switch it and make it beneficial for the Lord. I think that's. Like you said, it could be a very restful time because in our minds we think that is restful, but then if we're dealing with something and we shut our mind up, we're still dealing with it later. And so, I might have said this before on here, I can't remember, but I hope I'm going to butcher the quote. But it was an Instagram reel, sorry, but it was really really good what the person had said. So it was a talk show, and there was a girl asking a question to the host, and the girl started immediately crying, and she was talking about. Somebody had passed away, and so she immediately started crying, and she was like, I'm so sorry, and he was like, no, don't push that down. He was like, and he starts going into grief, but he was like, it can happen at any moment, so don't push it down. And he was like, I try to do that in my life. Him, not me. He was like, because I try to drink, I try to do this and do that and busy myself and all these different things. And he's like, you know what grief just did? And I'm saying grief, but I'm applying it to everything else, other different things. But he goes, you know what it did? It just waited till I finished. It's like it was still there. And so like if you're like, man, I had a hard day, I'm gonna scroll through Facebook because I need to feel numb. I need to shut my mind off or do whatever. Cool. But it's still going to be there when you're done doing it. So like
2 a.m.
Yeah. And so how about instead of that moment, immediately giving it over to the Lord? Like immediately, that's the thing I'm even learning now. Just like I was saying, like even like I used to talk to him a lot as a kid. Like talk to him about it. Like, okay, I had a rough day. Instead of me just shutting my mind off or numbing the situation, how about talk to God about it? Like, don't you think that will give you rest or help the situation or make you feel better that day? That if you just say, hey, Lord, I gotta talk about this. I need help or all these different things. And so, and get the healing that way instead of once again pressing it down and ignoring it because once again, it's going to be there for you at the end of it, so.
I've heard this like worldly concept. I'm sure, I don't know where it all started, whatever. It is the concept or the term, fill your cup. And like, just thinking about what you're saying and thinking about those words, like the only thing that is ever going to fill our cup is living water. And so when we have these moments of like, oh, I just need to escape to TikTok or Instagram or whatever, like there's nothing changing in that cup. There is no living water that is being poured into you in that moment. So you're not going to feel better. You're not going to feel more rested. You're not going to feel more ready to go. You might have a false sense of that, just like sin falsely feels good for a season, but you're not going to have the living water in you to refresh you and to make you whole. So that time would be better invested to allow the Spirit to do that than just to stay empty.
Yeah. Or sometimes when you're scrolling, whatever you're scrolling or whatever you're looking at could actually deplete your cup of like, all this political stuff back and forth and all this like, oh, well, look, there she is. She obviously never missed a day at the gym. I don't, then self-hate, all this destruction and comparison and whatnot. So being poured into, which goes back to your point of sitting in service and like, being with community who's going to pour into you. Like, are you being poured into? Are you making the time or are you just always pouring out? That's there. You've got to have an equal balance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think like y'all said in the beginning, like, self-reflection, talking to God, prayer is a huge thing in your season. Just asking God, hey, what do I need to address here? What do I need to do? Or being humble, listening to people when they tell you things, and checking your pride at the door. So, but I say we hit the delete button after this. Act like this never happened. We just walk out. So, but no, I think we definitely, I think there's still more, there's still more we're learning, and how to rest. How do we fix our busyness? Because I feel like every year is different, and we're in a constantly changing world, and, new things are always getting thrown at us, and our seasons are changing. And so, but I think sticking with the Lord should be number one, and constantly letting him walk beside of us, and praying to him every day. I think that will help in our crazy busyness. And so,
I think you could have left it at crazies.
the crazies, yeah. Well, I started thinking when I was talking, and I just kept rambling. It's like Michael Scott. It's like I'm trying to. It's like sometimes I started saying something, I don't know where it's going to end. But I was because I was going to add something, and so I like to verbally say things on the podcast, so make it real good. But just learning in those, because you had told me, and I think I had mentioned it in a couple podcasts, but like what helped me recently was just like, life is always going to be hard. It's never going to stop being hard. Like, in the same vein, life is always going to be busy. It's never not going to be busy. So it's like, how do you react in those seasons, and how do you do in those seasons? And so, but I think just taking a deep breath and realizing life is always going to get busy, because I have a big habit of like, just if I push through a little bit longer, then we're at the beach. We did this, we did that, and we're done. And it's like, it's never going to stop. And so
Never done.
No. And so how do you react to it? How are you walking through with it with the Lord? I think that is the key for sure. So, well, I feel rested. As always, thank you all so much for listening. We pray that this has been a help to you. Of course, it's not the main tool, but we hope that it is a tool that can help you get through life craziness. If you're not too busy, you can email us. We have an email.
BeStillAndGrowPodcast@gmail.com.
That is it. If you have any questions or concerns, well, not concerns. I don't want to hear that. That's true. I feel like we say that a lot to church. That's part of me. I say that now. But, or just needing help, or just, wanting to learn more. We would love to talk to you about it. If you have any prayer requests or anything like that, we also have other platforms that you can reach us out to us too. And but with that, as always, we love you. Miss Molly Crombie, can you pray us out?
Yes, sure thing. Lord, thank you so much for this wonderful time with friends, Lord. And thank you for their willingness to reach out into the world and just share your words. God, I pray that you would be glorified through this conversation, and that you would just show us how to rest in you in our days moving forward. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thanks for listening. Please email us at BeStillAndGrowPodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, ideas, and prayer requests.
For more content from Gospel Community Church, check out the Training Day podcast, hosted by George Jones.
This is Catherine.
Heather?
And Nicole.
Join us next time. We'll save you a seat. Till then,
Be still and grow.